Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Money Makes the World Go Round. I'm your handsome host, Mason Driscoll. Let's get right into it. Special guest here, trillionaire Naoise Dempsey. Looking like a beauty. Naoise, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, where'd you grow up?
So my name's Naoise Dempsey. Obviously, you just introduced myself, but so I'm born and raised in the Yukon. Recently moved to the island to help out my grandmother, and then I'll be living in Victoria in very soon here. So yeah, it should be good. I'm excited for it.
That's awesome. So, whereabouts are you right now?
Parksville.
What
It's
about?
yeah, it's a smaller place. About that doesn't give you much information, I guess. It's a smaller place, beautiful area, around the Nanaimo area. It's about 30 minutes out in Nanaimo. Beautiful beaches. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
That's awesome, man. Sounds like you're loving it.
Yeah,
Just a little bit about me and you. We grew up together basically in Whitehorse. We
we did.
haven't talked for 4 to 5 years, something like that. We just reconnected, like 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy. I'm happy to reconnect. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's awesome. Great to see you again. I seen you're up to a whole lot on social media and all that, getting into MMA and actually starting your own pod. So,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that. How's that MMA going?
MMA's gone fantastic. I was potentially fighting in September for Muay Thai, right? But that didn't really go through, or it didn't make sense to go through because that's when moving to Victoria is kind of when my fight is going to be happening or would have been happening.
Okay.
So it's yeah, it was a bit of a conflict and just didn't end up working out. But I do plan on having a fight in the winter, a stand up fight. So that'll be good. I'm really excited for that, and I've been sharpening the axe for a while now. I started training when I was about 15, and I love the arts, and it's a fantastic thing for all young men, older men, and women, any of all ages to get into. So yeah, teaches you a lot of great values.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, what's up with this Hopeful Minds initiative things? I gotta say, actually kind of inspired me to start this year. So, congratulations to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of blowing up.
Thank you very much. It's great. Like first initially it's just me doing it right now, but I plan on having a team and board of directors or a board like a board in the future. But right now it's just me. And it was initially just tips and tricks essentially of how to manage your mental health, kind of motivational stuff and to keep people going, right? And so mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I did a personal IG post, Instagram post about a bit of my journey and why I'm starting Hopeful Minds Initiative and what I've done since. I noted in that I was starting a bodybuilding competition. That was my time. That was my plan I'd like to address that because initial, that was my initial goal.
Yeah.
But then I got into MMA and then it kind of just took my focus to MMA and I want to start fighting instead of like I was on and off. I've been on and off training since 15, right? And then I really got passionate with it this year again. So I started just grinding that instead. So but yeah, and yeah, I've been doing business stuff and also started the what is going to be hopefully a nonprofit kind of thing uh in in the future. But right now it's just me and you need a certain amount of people to become a nonprofit, obviously. And so just gathering the right people in the future and yeah, so like I said, I'll get back on track here. It was at the start just tips and tricks, like I said, to manage mental health, and then now I'm transitioning into podcasts. So we just had a young very well spoken individual, young athlete on his name Gavin McKenna, and he did a fantastic job at presenting, and yeah, he's a phenomenal hockey player and just overall great guy. And then we just filmed one in the Yukon. I was just there for work and to see family, and then yeah, and then I got a couple coming up, and yeah, I'd love to go more into depth, but you'll have to tune into Hopeful Minds Initiative to see them. So it'll be good. Yeah, subscribe YouTube channel at Hopeful Minds Initiative.
Shout out Hopeful Minds. I
Yeah,
seen a video with Gavin, bro. I love Gavin. I remember Gavin. I think we both played with him because when did you stop playing hockey?
I never played with Gavin. I was he was my like how I knew Gavin was he was my like little buddy in elementary school, like the buddy system. And yeah, that's just kind of how I knew him and we connected and yeah, it was great.
That's still sick, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
pretty cool.
I remember
Yeah.
like going to Jack Holland, right?
Yeah,
Gavin?
Jack Cohen. That's
Yeah.
right. That's the elementary school I went to.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and with yeah, with Hopeful Minds Initiative, the reason I started it was because like this is well known. I expressed this on my personal Instagram and on Hopeful Minds Initiative. I'm diagnosed type 1 bipolar, and I got diagnosed about a year and a half ish ago, so. And with that comes a lot of adversity. Manic psychosis, hypomanic stuff, mania, um, severe depression, suicidal ideation. Uh, yeah, just a lot of hardship, right? And recovery was extremely difficult for me. And that being said, the episodes alone were probably the most terrifying thing I debate that a human could go through. Hallucinations and like auditory hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, etc. So it was very hard. And but yeah, with the recovery, I had to build up a mental fortitude to be able to withstand a lot of the downsides of, you know what I mean, of recovering from that. Because what happens essentially, I spoke at FH Collins I did a little speech there about mental health awareness in my story, and that's a high school in the Yukon. And with when you have psychosis, your limbic system essentially has a seizure, right? And with that obviously affects your brain significantly. So long story short, it was tough to recover from it. But here I am today, thriving. So I'm very happy and grateful for the supports I have, and my family, my friends, they've all been fantastic. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah.
That's awesome to hear, man. I mean, props to you. Mental health is definitely a big thing. There's a big stigmatism, especially for men, that's been
Yeah,
going on. So
for sure.
I'm happy for you that you're breaking that. You know, we
Appreciate
both kind of had some mental health battles here. I can kind of relate on the
it. Yeah,
yeah, I went through a drug-induced psychosis for a
that's
little bit.
terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
well, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, man. The recovery, it's hard, it's
same
tough.
with me.
It feels so good at the end. You feel
Yeah.
like such a better person. You know, you've taken that step and actually looked at yourself from the outside to change
Yeah,
things.
you gain so much insight and so much great life knowledge that, like, honestly, if there was a button that I could press and it would say you don't have to be diagnosed with type 1 bipolar, and you don't have to go through any of that shit, I wouldn't press it. You know what I mean? So it's because it gained me so much it changed me as a person, gained me so much insight into who I am in life in general. And yeah, I wouldn't press the button. And but sure, I have to deal with day-to-day bull BS on the regular, but it's something that I'm managing, and I manage it extremely efficiently. So I'm very happy with that. And I've learned to manage it extremely efficiently, I should say.
Yeah, it really teaches you a lot about yourself, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, you're super well spoken, my man. You're a great guy. So
Appreciate that. You
I
as
got
well. Likewise.
thanks, my man. But I guess yeah, let's jump into these questions. So I guess my
Let's do
first
it.
one, like when did you realize that you were an entrepreneur? And I know you may not see yourself as an entrepreneur, but kind of like when did you realize you were that go-getter, that you wanted that extra little bit of push?
So it's a very good question. My my life has always been, how do I articulate this? Is I've always wanted to be my own boss ever since I can remember, ever since I was 10 years old. I've never wanted to say, oh yeah, I work for someone. Like, I've always wanted my own business. Oh, sorry about that. And, yeah, it's my speaker. Anyways, so yeah, I've always wanted to be my own boss. That's been always my dream. And like I was working for an agency, I've done the odd landscaping job, I've done construction, I've done you name it kind of thing, a golf course, stuff like that. So, and then recently I was working for a like web design company, doing web design, and building websites, and doing a little bit of digital marketing as well with that, and as well as running my business on the side. So, and then my business kind of got to a point where we got pretty busy. So because when you start your own business, it's the cash flow isn't steady,
Yeah.
and I need more steady cash flow, right? So that's why I was working for a different web design company, and yeah, and then eventually just had to leave the company and focus on my own business, which I'm pretty grateful for. I'm pretty grateful to be in that spot, and yeah, it's just for all the young guys listening out there, young women, hard work does pay off. You just have to put your head down and really whatever you're doing and just grind. And yeah, so I'm happy with the spot I'm in today. And it's just we're going up and up right now. So I'm pretty happy about it.
No, that's awesome to hear, man. I mean, there only is one way to go up. But
Yeah,
I love what you said about, like being able to achieve those goals. Like hard work does pay off. It honestly does. No
yeah,
matter how much hard work you pay in, that's gonna come sometime. May not be now, could be 10 years down the road. Like
yeah.
goals are reachable. But I don't know if you've seen it, but yesterday I posted my flight. I'm going to Greece next year. That's
No
been
way. I didn't see that. That's fantastic,
yeah,
man.
yeah, I
Good for
just
you.
that's been my goal since I was like 13, man. And I've just last
There you go.
last year I've just been working my ass off, and I was like, finally, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But I also like what you said about being your own boss, because that's one of my key components to actually becoming an entrepreneur. It's like
Yeah,
growing up, I was never like, I don't want to sit there, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to make my own hours, I want to make my own money. I want to send my message out by myself, whether it's with my team, whether it's only by myself personally. So
yeah.
that's awesome. You got that component in there too. Yeah, I guess next question would be, what were your goals when you first started out as like, your entrepreneur when you
Well,
first
I was young when
started?
like I said, I was young when I first in the very I want to address this. The term entrepreneur is very loosely thrown around nowadays. I don't know if I'd consider myself like necessarily an entrepreneur. I guess so. I haven't done too much critical thinking about that, but um, I'd say to a certain extent I am. Um, so yeah, that's to get that out of the way. I wanted to mention that in the previous question, but to a certain extent, I agree I am an entrepreneur, but yeah, it's very loosely thrown around nowadays. But with people like but anyways, I won't go on about that. But yeah, like uh, yeah. So my initial goals when I was younger, I wanted to be a millionaire. You know what I mean? As a lot of young kids do. But then they get in the trap of, you know what I mean, getting sucked into a degree they don't really like doing and working for a boss they don't really like. And, they get sucked into the 9 to 5 kind of lifestyle. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a millionaire, you know what I mean? And doing like amazingly well. Like I'm doing okay, but it's, yeah, my goal was to be essentially to be a millionaire. And, I hope to have that come true in my 20s,
That's awesome,
and
man.
I believe that it will
Well,
very strongly.
it sounded like it. I totally believe in manifestation. You say it enough times, it'll happen. It changes your mindset. So
Yeah,
it looks like you're on a good path going up, my man. Honestly.
appreciate that. Thank you.
So what do you say your goals change from then to now? Going through all these experiences that you have and opening up all these new initiatives you got going on.
From then to now, I was more fixated on money. Now, I want to be able to help millions of people, whether that be financially, whether that be through because eventually I want to open up a foundation for medical illness or mental illness, like medicine research, essentially to find cures for stuff like bipolar, if that's possible, or you know what I mean, or schizophrenia, or whatever you have it. So I want to be able to find stuff. I want to be able to dump a lot of money into stuff like that. Um, so I want to be able to help people in the masses, whether it be through tips and tricks through my podcast, I want to amass millions of followers on that. Um, well, I should say I'm going to amass 1 million followers on that, but that sounds a bit cocky, right? But that's just what I believe. And yeah, just consistency is key. And I was in a little bit of a slump with it, but now I'm getting back into it. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, my perspective shifted after I had my mental illness stuff. So before it was all money driven. Yeah, I want to be able to, and I did want to be able to help out my inner circle and my family and stuff like that. I still do, but it was more just like for personal benefit. Now I want to be able to help people because after like I did my speech especially, and or like I tell people, or I posted that on Instagram about my personal mental health stuff on my personal Instagram. After I told people, and people would come over to me or message me saying, you know what, that helped me a lot, and they'd open up to me, and they'd put themselves in like a vulnerable spot, but it would be for a good, it would be good because like obviously I wouldn't share their information, I wouldn't do anything malevolent with their information. So it was amazing to have people open up to me and trust me, and feel like I was like kind of like I don't know, I just felt amazing for people to people to say that I've helped them. That's what makes me money. Like if I was to make $1 million right now, sure, it'd be amazing and it'd be cool and I'd be able to do a lot of great things with it. But what I take that over is like a million people coming and saying, "You helped me, you saved my life," or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's my personal outlook on that.
Awesome, my man.
I've done lots of thinking about stuff like this, right? Like I sit in my bed and just dwindle about, on and on. Yeah, I do lots of thinking.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I can definitely say, bro, you broke the ice for 80% of the Yukon for mental health, the whole stigmatism there. You're really getting people to reach out and engage with everything you got going on, which is honestly amazing, especially in such a small town like that. I mean, we both know it's not good for your mental health at all. Not a whole lot to do
There's
there.
pros and cons to it. Like yeah, there's like there are pros and cons to it, but overall, like it's like any place. There's pros and cons. That's what I got to say about that.
That's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. But yeah, so just going off that, what would you say your biggest accomplishments are? And then just follow it up with your biggest regrets,
All
or
right.
I guess.
That's this is one of the questions that it's a good question. My biggest accomplishment was being able, yeah, like probably speaking at like well, like I've had a lot of sports accomplishments that have been amazing. Like for alpine skiing, I was second at Western at Ski Cross Western Canada finals. Back in the day, back in my prime. But yeah, like I'd say my biggest accomplishment is being able to help people and through their mental health battles. So that's my biggest accomplishment. My biggest regret. Um, a lot of people have this thing where they say no regrets, like you just learn from it, right? There are some things I regret in life. There are some things I regret in life. Uh, like just being dumb, and you know what I mean, and just losing friends over that, you know what I mean, and going and I learned from it, but I do regret it. Like I mean, there's times where I made dumb mistakes and lost friends from that. So yeah, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. So yeah, so that's probably my biggest regret, and just like it's just learning, right? Growing up, being a teenager, doing stuff, and learning. So yeah, that's probably my biggest regret.
It's awesome. It's awesome that you're so open about everything. Like
Yeah.
you don't run into too many people that are willing to throw what's happened to them out there. And I can totally relate to you on that friend thing. Through my journey in life, lost a couple friends to some dumb shit.
Yeah.
Grew up being a dumb teenager, but stuff happens. You learn from it, and it really shapes you to who you are today. Humbles you. So
Exactly. Yeah.
props to you for that, my man. So
Yeah.
last one here. I don't know if you got any questions for me or anything like that, but I'll throw one more at you here. What would your advice to be to any like new entrepreneurs or anyone new looking to get their motion out there, get their word out there and bring themselves up in life? What would you be any advice?
Any new entrepreneur? Sorry, can you reiterate that question one more time for me?
Yeah, so like any advice for any new entrepreneurs or any new go-getters I'll use since you're not an entrepreneur, you say.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I am. I haven't really thought about that one too much. And then again, I say I think a lot, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I yeah, for to address your question, I'd say for like for new entrepreneurs and people that want to run their own business and want to be financially free, whatever you have it. I'd say, okay, so a couple things. Firstly, find a mentor, find someone, or you can find a business model, I guess. Find what lucrative business model you can choose that you actually enjoy and you can see yourself sustaining it for years to come. Doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. It could be a means to an end to start to open up a bigger company, like a property company, for example. So find a business model, obviously. Find like a good, solid, lucrative business model that doesn't have a whole bunch of expenses with it, unless you get like some great funding. Secondly, find a mentor. Find someone usually older than you that knows about business, knows operational side of business, knows about marketing potentially, knows about the number side. You don't have to worry about until like you make a certain amount of money, but yeah, so don't worry about that too much. Like, but that being said, if you're very creative minded and very like, I think it's left brained, it's good to find people with the right brain. And if you're very right, which is like accounting, stuff like that, like logistics and stuff, analytics. And if you're really right brain and good with numbers and all that, try to find someone that's, a bit more creative and, has a good design eye. So yeah, so that's find a mentor and find someone that it could be, your uncle that owns a business. It could be, I have a lot of great mentors in my life and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, so find a mentor. And then the third one, I don't want to flip you off. I'm not going to put just the middle finger up, but the third one, I'll do this because this is cooler. So the third one is definitely put in the hours. Just grind. Like there were days, like I'll be honest, I'll be transparent, and this sounds ridiculous. I'd work like 17 hour days. Like just like all I do is like when I was starting my company, all I do was just sit in front of my computer and just grind and research, build, etc. So just put in the hours. That doesn't mean that's kind of extreme, those hours. So if you're listening and you look up to me or whatever you want to call it, don't that's a pretty unhealthy way to live. And it wasn't the optimal for me. So yeah, find what is healthy for your mental health, and you can still manage your life, but put in the hours and be consistent. And don't rely on motivation. Rely on you can use motivation to build your discipline. There's nothing wrong with that. But with just don't rely 100% on motivation. What I did was I used a lot of motivational videos and stuff like that to build my discipline. And now I'm a very disciplined individual who can put in the hours and be consistent. So yeah, so it's you just don't rely on motivation. That's a big one because motivation isn't sustainable for a long period of time. But discipline is. So yeah, that's
Yeah, you really brought that up, which is awesome. 100% correct. I love what you said about putting in the hours too. I mean, those boats got to be carried sometime. They're not going to carry themselves.
like David Goggins says. I said that in my last podcast too. I was like, who's gonna carry the boats? But yeah, it was it's funny.
Got to be
But
carried sometimes. It's not always going to be fun, but
he's a freak in a good way of an individual. Like he's built up so much mental fortitude and just does absurd things like runs like hundreds of kilometers. It's insane.
okay, wow, he's got to be celibate or something. Like, no way you're doing that. You can't be doing
He
that.
doesn't have time for that, but no, but yeah, like that's pretty much that's what I got for you. And I have a question for you, Mason, Mr. Driscoll, whatever you'd like to be addressed as.
Definitely not that.
So do you believe that money buys happiness? Because your podcast name is Money Makes the World Go Around. So do you think that money buys happiness?
To a certain degree.
Tough question.
To a certain degree, I think it really all depends on your values and qualities as a person. Someone who's materialistic, go buy that Rolls Royce. You're gonna be happy for a month. Happiness is never permanent unless you're changing up your life, your personality, your ways. I don't think money can long-term happipiness. You can definitely buy short-term happiness for sure. Um,
Yeah, like pleasure, for example. Like you can buy
yeah,
like
exactly.
you want if you buy like a car or whatever, or yeah, like sign a deal or whatever, you go to Mexico, it's you get you have pleasure from that. You get pleasured. But it doesn't I wouldn't say that it necessarily buys fulfillment or happiness. That comes from, various things like helping people, stuff like that. So
Exactly.
that's what kind of backtracking, that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, like why my perspective shifted so much is because I actually found what makes me feel fulfilled.
Exactly.
And I'm going to pursue that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no,
And
like that's awesome, man. Sorry, I cut you off there. You say something?
you're good, man. You're all good. This is a conversation. Well, this is a conversation, right? I'm asking you questions. That's good. But you ask me questions. It's like, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so yeah, like, and I'm very grateful and very lucky. It's kind of weird saying I'm lucky for going through psychosis, but I'd say I'm lucky to a certain extent because I found out exactly what I want to do at a very young age, you know, and what makes me happy. Some people don't even, a lot of people don't even find that in their whole life, right? So I'm extremely lucky in that way. Sure, it was terrible going through all that, and oh, sorry, and sorry, I should have muted my that, but yeah, it sure was terrible going through all that, but yeah, I'm lucky to what I've made myself because of it, and what I've came out of because of it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what I gotta say about it too. I mean, you go through stuff, and like I was saying before, it shapes you to who you are today. I know definitely not the same as I used to be, but I'm happy to be where I'm at today. And just keep like to go off your question there. Money doesn't buy happiness, but like let's say I had this business here, I'm bringing in 500K a year just for myself, personal income. Yeah, I'd be happy. I feel successful, but it's not really my goal. Like how am I why am I making this money? How could I be investing this to help other people? I'd say really, you're not happy until you're helping other people, honestly.
I think that's the root of a lot of it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
You
sure, for
got
sure.
this secured, who else you got, worry about everyone else, my man. You're
Yeah,
locked up there. But yeah, that's that's my answer to that.
you were very well said. Very well said. Yeah, you yourself are you're very well spoken, and I can say that you've grown. I can see that you've grown a lot as a person, and I commend you for that. It's yeah, and like you can tell when, you know what I mean, someone's been through something, and it's like, or at least I can tell sometimes, you know what I mean, because their maturity levels are a bit different, right? Like it's you seem like a very mature guy, and like you've grown a lot, so it's good to see.
Thank you. Honestly, my man, it means a lot. I'd like to say I'm mature. I mean, I look like I'm fucking 28, but I'm only 19. So
Yeah. Oh, you got the mustache. It's good. I wish I could grow one of those. I just grow fuzz, but or I have to shave, but it's like it's nothing.
put some castor oil in there, some coconut oil in there.
Yeah, some just for men.
Get some Rogaine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, thank you for hopping on for this episode. By all means, you didn't have to, and you took that step to help me out. So I want to say thank you, and I hope this filled some gaps for you. You got a little bit of insight about everything, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I gotta say, my man. Thank you.
It's been fantastic chatting with you. It's been yeah, I love what you're doing. It's good. It's you're stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something new. It's you know what I mean? And there'll be people that there's people that judge me, there's people that will probably judge you, then that's just human nature. You know what I mean? So just keep sticking to it and don't listen to the people that are negative because they see you doing something awesome. You know what I mean?
For sure, my man.
Yeah,
Keep carrying those boats, buddy.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But yeah.
But all right, thank you, my man. I'll talk to you later.